One of the things that you have to consider is durability. Another thing you have to consider is economics. And then, of course, you have to consider what are your guests looking for? And the one thing that we learned in running Ferncrest over the first year is that the dome tents allowed us to accomplish all of those to the maximum. We offered 3 different tents when we started Ferncrest. We offered dome tents, we offered a safari style tent, which we called the Crest tent, and then we offered a smaller tent called a bell tent. Those were 3 different levels. We had basically the bell tent being the economy level, and then we had the Crest tent being more of like the business class, and then dome tents being first class. Pricing wise, they're all separated by about $100. So you got $100 for a bell tent, a couple $100 for a Crest tent, and then $300 for a dome tent. I thought that the bell tents were going to be the most popular because they were the most economical, and people were going to come out and they were going to fill up the bell tents because that was the lowest price. But we were completely wrong. The dome tents have been the most successful tent. And if we had double or triple the amount of dome tents this year, we would have filled them because bell tents were sitting empty and dome tents were packed with people calling in, emailing in, G-chatting in, asking for availability of dome tents, and we have been sold out. Lessons learned was that just because it's cheaper doesn't mean it's going to be more popular. In fact, higher end is where the glamping industry ultimately should be, because if you're going to be camping and you want to have a lower price option, they're out there. But if you're going to be glamping, if you want to experience the outdoors and you want to experience in luxury, you're going to want to go up market. And so when you look at a Glampground, ultimately our biggest recommendation is that go high end. As my grandfather used to say, it only costs twice as much to go first class. If you're going to go first class, you're going to pay twice as much, and you're going to be willing to do it because you want to go first class. There's a lot of benefits to the geodesic dome that allows you to accomplish that first class experience. It's by no means the only way to do that with glamping, but I believe it is the best return on investment. And it also is the quickest and fastest way to get up and running in the glamping industry without having to build large structures or go through a large permitting process. You're able to accomplish a lot of that and get the best economic return with dome tents. One of the reasons why dome tents are such a good idea for a entrepreneur and Glampground owner is they really have unmatched durability for what you get out of it. You have a steel structure, and because of the geometric shape, you actually have a structure that is stronger than most stick-built buildings. So basically, even though you don't have any support beams in here or anything like that, the weight of the entire building is distributed down these triangles into the the steel, and then into the platform and into the ground. So all of that weight is evenly distributed around the perimeter of the building. So even if you have a lot of snow or anything on top of the building, it's not really putting pressure on top of the building, it's putting pressure on the entire building. So that gives it unmatched durability in terms of the strength of the structure. The other thing is you have a PVC exterior. So in our case, we have an 850 gram PVC material, which is a plastic material, but it is incredibly durable. It doesn't break down in the UV radiation, and it is rated to last over 10 years of life. We've even had branches and things fall on it and haven't had any damage. And that's not to say that it can't get punctured or damaged. However, the ability for it to withstand the elements is known to be true. And that PVC material is a lot stronger than what you might get out of a traditional safari tent style. And the PVC material is a thicker material, so it's not even as good for the look or feel of, say, like a wall tent, a safari tent. But because of the circular shape, again, it's conformed to the actual steel structure, which gives it, in my opinion, a very, very slick and nice look from the exterior as well. Geodesic domes also offer year-round comfort. You can have insulation inside the geodesic domes and allow it to actually act as a living accommodation even in the wintertime. So as you can see in our geodesic domes, we have a single layer of insulation. This is not necessarily a thick insulation that we would use in the wintertime. However, we're not going to be open in the wintertime. We close October 31st for the year, and then we'll be closed in the winter. And that's largely not because of the domes, but because of our bathroom facilities. We have our bathrooms outside of our domes, and those are not built to be open in the wintertime. So we're going to shut down the campground. But in the future, our plan is to test out some domes with thicker insulation and build another bathroom facility that can be used in the wintertime to see what the demand is like. You can heat the geodesic domes through electric heat, but also like a wood burning stove or a pellet stove or a gas stove. And honestly the shape of the dome as well, because there's no seams or areas like in a building where you might have heat escape. So that insulation and the shape of the dome keeps it really nice and warm and cozy in the wintertime. And any campground, any glampground that you can keep open year round is going to be a more profitable glampground, because those carrying costs over the wintertime are going to be covered and profited by having something like a dome tent operating in the wintertime. Probably the biggest selling point to the customers for the dome is this: the panoramic view that can look into any specific direction that you want. Usually, generally speaking, the window is only on one side of the dome. I've never seen a dome with two windows. So you have one direction of dome that you can configure towards the best looking scenery. And so in our case, we have hundreds of acres of untouched wilderness right next to Ferncrest, and we have several of our tents looking into that. And then on the other side, we have the tents configured in a way that they don't look into other campgrounds or other tents. And it provides a lot of privacy and gives it a really romantic feel. When you open that door and you go into a dome tent, it is an entirely different experience than you would feel at any other campground, and especially at home. And what are we trying to do in the hospitality industry? We're trying to offer people something different than what they have in their day-to-day life. And that is exactly what a dome does. It offers somebody something entirely different than what they're used to. It's a memorable experience. It's something that they will never forget. And that's largely because of this big panoramic window. And let's face it, the dome is a unique structure, and unique aesthetics are one of the main drivers in bookings. When people see this on Instagram or other online marketing platforms, they are immediately drawn to it because it is entirely different than what they're used to. Geodesic dome has something almost alien about it that at first I was not a huge fan of. I thought it was a little bit ticky-tacky and maybe not as cool as like a traditional tent look. But I've come to love it and come to appreciate it as a modern and a vibe that really you can't have in any other structure. And so that dome look is something that will immediately attract people to your advertisements, to your Instagram page, to your YouTube channel, to wherever you put your advertisements for your glampground. The dome is going to draw eyes. And as soon as you draw eyes and draw attention, you increase your chances of booking, and you also increase your chances of a higher average daily rate. And that's exactly what we've gotten with our dome tents. Ever since they've been featured on other people's, say, TikToks, it immediately goes viral, and people love to share the look and feel of the dome tents. So one of the things that may not matter to everybody, but could benefit the retention and marketing that you would do around your glampground, is the fact that geodesic domes are environmentally friendly. They are very low impact to build because they don't actually have a lot of material. You have a steel structure and then a PVC exterior. And even though that PVC exterior might have some negative environmental connotation because it is a plastic, the steel structure is going to last for decades and decades, even if you have to replace the PVC exterior every 10 years or so. But ultimately, it's still a lot less material than building, say, a stick cabin or any other structure, which means that you're transporting less material, you're consuming less material, and it also is a lot cheaper and more environmentally friendly to heat and cool. Because it's a dome, it actually retains that heat and the cool air when you're using air conditioning in the summertime, much better than a building that might have areas where that air can escape. So ultimately, there's a lot of environmental benefits to having a dome. You can use that in your marketing. You can tout it to your customers who are looking to embrace nature with a low impact. And that's just one more reason why domes make for a great glampground addition. Dome tents are also very versatile. Even though they're always going to be a dome shape, you can have a lot of versatility with the size of the dome. Every bit of diameter that you increase, it also increases the height, which gives you a lot more vertical space. Here at Ferncrest, ours are 5 meters, and we did that because we wanted to have a little bit smaller dome that doesn't need a bathroom in the inside, because we do have bathroom facilities outside. This still allows us to have a king bed in some with a stove, and you have like air conditioning, you have a clothing rack, you have a microwave and a mini fridge, you have the seating area in front of the window. We also have some domes in the 5 meter configuration that are 2 full beds. So that can sleep 4 people in a 5 meter dome. Now, when you go larger, say 7 meters, you can even have a loft, you can have a bathroom, you can have a kitchenette, and you can go as large as you possibly want to go with a dome. Although really, ultimately for a campground, 7 meters, you wouldn't need to go much bigger than that. But you can go bigger, and you can have a lot of versatility with the type of space and how high you go and what you put in there. There's some domes that are full-on cabins with second floors within the dome itself. Ultimately, domes are still super strong and sturdy structures, even if you go with the larger diameter, because the way that the weight distributes down the sides. And although domes may look like they're difficult to set up, they actually are relatively easy once you get a hang of it. Everything is these poles, these steel poles, which fit together in these joints, and the joints are held together by bolts, nuts and bolts. And so essentially you're adding pole by pole by pole, and as you go up, the dome gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And when you put that last pole in, when you buckle it all together, that dome is complete, and then you're able to put the PVC canopy over top and put the insulation on the inside. Generally speaking, a dome can be set up in less than a day. And once you get really good at it, you could set up multiple domes in a single day. And because your success as a Glampground owner or as somebody that's going to be renting out a dome is tied to how much time and money you put into a dome, the quicker it is to set it up, the more economical it's going to be for you from a return on investment standpoint. And because of all of those reasons, dome tents are the most profitable type of glamping structure that you can put on your land. At least that's what we've experienced. I strongly believe that domes are a trend, both in terms of aesthetic and in Glampgrounds, that are not going away anytime soon. There is something modern but classic about the dome tent structure that attracts more customers, it turns more heads, and ultimately it makes more money. So if you have existing land or you're considering buying some, consider putting geodesic domes on them. There is no better way to profit off your land than getting into the hospitality industry and having a glamping setup of your own. You don't need a ton of land to do it. You need 1 or 2 acres and you can have a Glampground. That is really something that we've come to learn after running Ferncrest, is that the dome tents that we have are on 1 acre of land and have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars for our family business. And I believe that anybody can do it with the right tools. So if you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out. We'd love to help you. We love the glamping industry and we love helping to connect people with nature. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. We love helping people with this topic. We love talking about dome tents. We love talking about glamping. We'll see you around at the next video.